Dad, I want a Lego castle.
Here you go, son.
Wow, this is just a box of Lego bricks.
You have to build it, you idiot. Just a quick word before we get into the video. Now, this was meant to be a collab with the Phlegm Face. She does an hilarious anti-vegan nonsense series. If you enjoyed this video, you will love her work. Seriously, guys, subscribe to her. Link in the description below. My part of the video, the part you're about to see, got a bit protracted. I thought it won't make sense to make it even longer still. So look out for a future collabo with me and the Phlegm Face on this channel. But with all that being said, on with the video. So this anti-vegan nonsense is 6 months old. It's still on the BBC website. Now I want to predicate it by going to the end of the article and reading you this. An earlier version of this article stated that omega-3 generally only occurs in animal products. This article has been corrected to make it clear that there are 3 types of omega-3 fatty acids. One of these, ALA, can be found in plants. This is nutritional kindergarten basics. The guy who wrote this has no clue. The article also stated that Nathan Coffness was a biologist at the University of Oxford. He is in fact studying the physiology of biology. So simply put, the guy has no clue. He's very obviously got a meat-centric bias as he eats animals 3 or more times a day. And of course, he has to make veganism wrong or he's an a-hole. And we very obviously shouldn't trust a word he says. The vegan diet is low in, or in some cases entirely devoid of several important brain nutrients. What he fails to point out is the fact that we, like the animals we very stupidly and selfishly eat, can create these essential nutrients from plant precursors. There is no issue. The fact that I'm reading this, thinking about it, and coherent words are coming out of my mouth, you tend to think that I'm doing all right for brain nutrients. The idea that avoiding meat is bad for our brains makes some intuitive sense. Well, no, it doesn't actually. We know that eating animal products forms atherosclerosis, the #1 killer of humans when it furs up our coronary artery. Well, the brain kind of needs blood in order to function. So there's your stroke, there's your dementia. Anthropologists have been arguing about what our ancestors ate for decades, but many scientists think that there was a lot of bone crunching and brain slurping on the road to developing these remarkable 1.4 kilo organs. Some have even gone so far as to say that meat made us human. Clever people like Richard Wrangham, the Harvard professor, postulate that it was actually the cooking and eating of starches which accelerated our brain growth. The cleverest thing we ever did was develop tool making. How are you gonna hunt for animals with no tools, fool? One reason is that intelligence is expensive. The brain devours 20% of our daily calories. What better way to find the enormous array of fats, amino acids, vitamins and minerals these fastidious organs require than by feasting on animals which have already painstakingly collected or made them? Well, first of all, the brain runs off of glycogen, carbohydrate. How much carbs are in animal products like meat and eggs? Let me think. 0. But although it's hard to imagine our ancestors choosing turnips over tuna, what? How are cavemen gonna get out into the deep sea to catch huge marine fish? Unless you've uncovered a cave drawing with a trawler on it. On the one hand, recent concern about the nutritional gaps in plant-based diets has led to a number of alarming headlines, including a warning that they can stunt brain development and cause irreversible damage to a person's nervous system. I'm sorry, I can't comprehend that. My brain's gone stupid. I'm just going to check the studies that they're citing to make sure that this is good science, because they've got me worried now. Oh, there are no studies being cited. Off. Back in 2016, the German Society for Nutrition went so far as to categorically state that for children, pregnant or nursing women and adolescents, vegan diets are not recommended, which has been backed up by a 2018 review of the research. Oh yeah? Well, all the largest nutrition associations, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the World Health Organization, etc., 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 all the biggies state that a vegan diet properly planned is absolutely fine for anyone at any stage of life. After the Royal Academy of Medicine in Belgium decided a vegan diet was unsuitable for children, parents who force a vegan diet on their offspring in Belgium could even one day find themselves in prison. Whatever sort of corporate ties must one have to come out with that absolute gem? But on the other hand, if abstaining from meat had any real impact on our brains, you would think that we would already have noticed. So is it really damaging our intellects, or is this all just fear of the unknown? It's just idiots. There are several important brain nutrients that simply do not exist in plants or fungi. Again though, there are plant precursors that we, like the animals we eat, make into these essential nutrients. Let me illustrate.
Dad, I want a Lego castle.
Here you go, son.
Wow, this is just a box of Lego bricks.
You have to build it, you idiot. Ideally, to test the impact of the vegan diet on the brain, the vegan diet, like there's just one way to eat if you're vegan. You can eat vegan and you can eat kale, quinoa, berries and lentils, or you can be vegan and you can eat donuts, crisps, you can be drinking beer. Be a very, very different health outcome there, wouldn't there? You would take a randomly selected group of people, ask half to stop eating animal products and see what happens, but there isn't a single study like this. Instead, the only research that comes close involved the reverse. It was conducted on 555 Kenyan school children. So there were far too few participants to be able to draw any sort of conclusion, so ignore this. Who were fed one of 3 different types of soup, one with meat, one with milk and one with oil or no soup at all, as a snack over 7 school terms. They were tested before and after to see how their intelligence compared. Because of their economic circumstances, the majority of the children were de facto vegetarians at the start of the study. Vegetarians, not vegans. Vegetarianism, where you have cheese, dairy, eggs, sat fat, trans fats, cholesterol, compared to a whole foods plant-based vegan diet with none of those horrible things but loads of nutrients. They're worlds apart. This is irrelevant. This has nothing to do with veganism. Surprisingly, the children who were given the soup containing meat each day seemed to have a significant edge. By the end of the study, they outperformed all the other children. Well, maybe if those children with the meat in their soup, maybe if they were given a different type of soup, maybe they would have still outperformed the other ones. Did you think of that? Tiny sample size, no indication of how well put together the study was. I mean, again, there's no link, so you can't check it for yourself. No, this study, this one singular study, tiny sample size, throw it out the window, it's useless. In fact, there are several important brain nutrients that do not exist in plants or fungi. Creatine, carnosine, taurine, EPA, DHA, heme iron. We, like the animals we eat, make them from plant precursors. And vitamins B12. 38%, nearly 2/5 of Americans are B12 deficient. Don't tell me that you think that all those are vegan. No, nearly all of them will be meat eating. Vegans are clever enough to supplement for themselves. The vitamin B12 that omnivorous eaters are getting from eating animals, the vast majority is from a supplement given to them because they're farmed in such atrocious, unnatural ways. Just be aware, if you're eating animals to get B12, you're also getting a laundry list of things that are killing us. Sat fat, trans fats, cholesterol, on and on and on and on. Call me old-fashioned, but I don't want to be the cause of my own death. I don't want the #1 killer of humans, heart disease, so I'll just take my B12 directly, thank you very much. And D3 generally only occur naturally in foods derived from animal products. Well, for one thing, vitamin D comes from the sun. For another thing, the average human requires around 2,000 IUs of vitamin D per day to be optimal. The average omnivorous eater consumes 130 IUs. That's quite a big discrepancy. Flesh munchers, you may want to start taking your supplements. Others are found in vegan foods, but only in meagre amounts. To get the minimum amount of vitamin B6 required each day from one of the richest plant sources, potatoes, you'd have to eat about 5 cups worth. This is very odd because you see, formerly I was a nutritionist. I've written thousands of plans for vegans and not once has B6 ever been an issue. I prescribe a range of legumes, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds. And it could be like a small female, like a smallish female on a fat loss diet, so she could be on a small amount of calories. Vitamin B6 has never been an issue. Could it be perhaps that you don't know what the you're talking about? And though the body can make some of these vital brain compounds from other ingredients in our diets, oh, so you're not a complete imbecile then? This ability isn't usually enough to make up for these dietary cracks. Oh, really? Of course, you'll have a study or studies cited to back this up. Oh, please don't just make stuff up. For all of the nutrients listed above, vegetarians and vegans have been shown to have lower quantities in their bodies. In some cases, deficiency isn't the exception, it's completely normal. Show me the study, show me the study, you I'll tell you what, son, let's do our own study. Let's get our blood work done and we'll test head to head to see who's got the most vitamins and minerals in our bloodstream. The last time I had my bloods tested, everything tested at the top of range, except for B12, which was slightly over. For now, the impact these shortcomings are having on the lives of vegans is largely a mystery, but a trickle of recent studies have provided some clues and they make for unsettling reading. Oh yeah, hit me. I think there are some real repercussions to the fact that plant-based diets are taking off, says Taylor Wallace, a food scientist and CEO of the nutrition consulting firm Think Healthy Group. It's not that plant-based is inherently bad, but I don't think we're educating people enough on, the nutrients that are mostly derived from animal products. I don't think we're educating people on the fact that no one's dying of deficiencies, everyone's dying of excesses, of things like sat fat, trans fats and cholesterol that are found in, animal products. One of the most well-known challenges for vegans is getting enough vitamin B12. Yes, it is very challenging, isn't it? First you have to get the bottle, then you have to unscrew the lid, then you have to get the supplement, put it in your mouth and swallow it. It's one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. There are some tragic cases of children whose brains failed to develop because of their parents being ill-informed vegans, says David Benton, who studies the link between our diets and brain chemistry at Swansea University. In one example, the child was unable to sit or smile. In another, they slipped into a coma. So this guy brings up just 2 children who were given inadequate nutrition. Are omnivorously raised children ever given inadequate nutrition? Are thousands of babies not taken from omnivorous eating parents each year? Why yes, I think they are. Another nutrient that's scarce in the typical vegan diet is iron. Again, whenever I've written a nutrition plan for a vegan, however small the amount of calories, the iron has come back at over 3.5 times the amount that is needed, like the minimum RDA. More than 3.5 times. While it is possible to eat a junk food vegan diet and be open to all kinds of nutritional deficiencies, at least it is possible to eat a healthy, whole foods vegan diet. What's not possible, however, is then to add in animal products and not expect to raise your risk for 14 of the 15 leading causes of death. The form that's most readily absorbed by the body is heme iron, which is only found in animal products. As I already stated, you can get more than enough iron from plants. We then make that into the heme iron ourselves. If we've got too much plant iron coming in, our intestines will block most of the absorption from any subsequent iron that we might eat. The body is only 1/5 as effective at doing that with heme iron, however. So all of a sudden you can have a massive toxic load of iron that's raising your risk for disease like crazy. Other common deficiencies amongst vegans include D3. We get that mostly from the sun. There's very little in animal products. Omega-3, 3 tablespoons of ground flax or chia would be adequate for most people. Selenium, 1 Brazil nut, and just a whole foods plant-based diet. You're gonna more than smash the selenium. Folate from foliage. There is folate in most vegan plant foods. Again, when I write a plan for people, folate is really not a freaking issue. Foliage, for God's sake. And iodine, 1/2 teaspoon of dulse or arame flakes, 1.5 sheets of nori, the sushi seaweed, gives you 150 micrograms of iodine. You are just, who that wrote this? God the hell! But others are so obscure, vegans are unlikely to have even heard of them, let alone realising they could be missing out. One example is taurine. You mean the stuff in meat and seafood and that's added to Red Bull? Yeah, I've never heard of it. Vegans tend to have less taurine in their bodies. No one has looked into how this might be affecting their cognitive abilities yet. Again, we, like the animals we stupidly eat, make our own taurine from the plant precursors. Now, there's always this thing of more being better. No, oftentimes more is too much and leads to ill health of different things. Cholesterol, retinol, arachidonic acid. Don't always just think more. Think the right amount. The right amount is the best amount. More than the right amount is too much. Take choline. In the brain, it's used to make acetylcholine, which is involved in a number of tasks, including relaying messages between nerve cells. It's fundamental to our ability to think. Even insects have it in their tiny brains, and the body can't produce enough of it on its own. Thank God then that it's in good amounts in legumes, whole grains, sweet potatoes, some of the cruciferous vegetables, vegan foods. Now, we don't actually know how much we need. There's not a lot of data on it. We know that 50 milligrams is too little for most people. We know that 500 milligrams is enough for most people. There's very little data in between. One study, however, showed that around 300 seems to be fine for most people. Now, it could be that this is more conditionally essential because we do actually manufacture choline ourselves. But with low B12 status, low folate, if we're low in the amino acid methionine, that can then cause issues. So just eat a healthy diet such as I'm outlining. The danger is If you go high in choline, choline feeds pathogenic gut bacteria. They create trimethylamine from that. Once that oxidizes in the liver, you create trimethylamine oxide. It accelerates atherosclerosis deposition, makes it harder for your body to clear cholesterol from the bloodstream. So it's raising your risk for the #1 killer of humans, heart disease plus stroke. Also raises your risk for diabetes, certain colorectal cancers. There's a reason why it's known as the molecule from hell. The latest nutrient in question is creatine. Again, we make our own creatine if there is actually a benefit to taking a little bit more, which there is to sports performance. However, we have to cycle it anyway. We have to come off it after a short while and then start again because our receptors down-regulate. Just take a bloody supplement. You don't need all the negatives that come with dead animals. Caroline Ray, who led another study, says there isn't enough evidence to back taking creatine yet. Oh, so you might be eating animals thinking you're going to boost your brain power, not boost it at all and end up dying sooner. Smart. So what's the verdict? The verdict is that you're a numbskull who should not be writing about nutrition. Now click this.